What is going on, folks? Welcome back to the Fish Life Podcast. Hey, we've got a great one lined up for you tonight. We got a real Texas fishing legend. Mr. Kelly Jordon is going to be live with us tonight. He's going to discuss the Redcrest Championship on Lake Palestine. This might be the biggest bass tournament Kelly Jordon's ever fished in. Might be the biggest tournament win of his life if he pulls it off, and it's right here on his home lake. We're going to dive in depth on that as well as everything else Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour oriented, and just talk with Kelly about what's going on for him the last year and what he expects for the year coming up for 2021. Hey, we'll also have current conditions. I'm going to talk to you at the end a little bit about some things that are going to go on throughout my year this year. I got a couple little things, or at least for sure one thing, and could lead to more things depending on the scheduling that I'm excited to bring to you guys. We're going to discuss that a little bit, preview that a little bit, and also, of course, we're going to interact with you guys live. Any questions y'all have along the way, ask them, and as many of them as I can get to, we will sure enough get to them. If you have questions for Kelly once we get him on the phone, be sure and ask them, and I'll try to relay those to him for you guys as well. So thank y'all once again for joining us very much. Do me a favor as you get in here, drop me a comment, let me know who's watching with us. Hey, and if you enjoy these podcasts, these live stream podcasts here on the YouTube, be sure that you leave me a thumbs up. Let me know if you like this channel. Be sure you subscribe and hit that bell. Turn those notifications on. That way you never miss any of the old goofball bass fishing content that we put out around here. Once again, I'm missing my partner in crime, Chris. I think we're going to have to start rotating into an every other week deal with Chris. Chris is not here this week. He'll be back next week. Just a scheduling thing for him. He's got a full-time job as well, of course. So right now, it's going to be every other week. You guys are going to be stuck with just me here on camera as the host. But we will try to continue to get great guests, just like we're going to have tonight with Kelly Jordon. All right, guys, be sure I'll drop those comments in as you join us tonight so I'll know who all is here tonight. Hey, let's go ahead and talk about the conditions. We're going to have some weather this week, some nasty weather. It's going to get a little cold towards the end of the week. We'll have to kind of wait and see what the weekend forecast is. We'll talk more about that on our Thursday night live stream when we do our top dates for the weekend to get you guys ready. But as of right now, you know, this weekend's been, other than the wind here lately, it's been pretty good weather the last 3 or 4 days for fishing. We've had some warm weather. It was a very pleasant day today, other than the wind. And if you could hide away on a smaller lake or just isolate in a cove, isolate, social distance yourself in a single cove. You need a social distance from that wind today. But get in a protected area. You probably had a pretty good day of fishing today, I would imagine. So good conditions. When you get these warmer trends, guys, don't be scared this time of year to get extremely, and I mean extremely shallow and throw moving baits. They'll react to them when you get warming trends this time of year. That being said, just as likely, if you're a big fish hunter like I like to be, you can also fish the creek channel bends still, even on the warm trends. You just move to the shallower ones. Some of those bigger, more dominant fish are going to stay around that more dominant type of cover like a creek channel bend. And so I really like to, on the warming trends, get to the shallower creek bends and fish those with a jig the same way I would a little bit deeper. I just moved to a little bit deeper creek bends of colder trends and a little bit shallower bends on the warmer trends. And I kind of just experiment around with different depths on the day until I see exactly what was going on. Hey, y'all let me know if we're having problems with the stream, because for some reason we had like no viewers and all of a sudden all y'all popped in here at once, and I'm just now seeing the first comments show up. So I think there may be a pretty good delay going on our live stream tonight, and I apologize for that. We had first couple dropped in here on the comments were Big John and Tom G, both saying hello. Hey man, I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. It's going to be a good one. Gonna be a good one with Mr. Kelly Jordon. I'm looking forward to talking to him. Just popped up on the tube. That's old John shared. Okay. All right. Yeah, there might be a little delay going on tonight. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. We got Mel Moore, Brian Howe jumping in here now. We got a few more of you guys popping in here. That's great, man. Yeah, it's back to the current conditions. It's a really good time of year to fish. There's not a lot of boats on the water at times, and you know, the fish do bite pretty good, especially on the days like we've had the last few days. Like, I guarantee you now, I didn't fish a lot. I took some days off the water around Christmas with my family, but I promise you, they were biting pretty good. I would be willing to bet the last few days with this warmer trending weather that we've been having, at least stabilizing the water temps anyway. Hey, we got a first question tonight from Cross Street. He says, deeper, shallow, 4 foot, 10 foot. Okay, question mark. So, For me, a shallow creek channel is going to be, and I'm talking about the bottom of the creek channel depths, anywhere from 4, 5, 6 foot. That's going to be a shallow creek channel. Mid depth is going to be like 8 to 12. Anything getting down around 15 to 20 is going to be a deeper creek bend. So like the weather we've had the last few days, I'm going to focus on the shallow ones, the 4, 6, maybe an 8 footer, but mainly 4 and 6 foot creek channels. And then as we get a little bit cooler trending, I'll jump out to 8 to 12. And if it really gets cool trending, I'll jump all the way out to that 15 to 20. So John Boland's in the house hollering at the ladies. John Denny says it was hella windy on the lake today. I do not doubt that. That's greatness. Greatness. Who wants to talk to Kelly Jordon? Drop me a comment if y'all want me to just shut up and call Kelly Jordon and let's talk to him. He'd probably be more interesting to talk to than I would. I'd be willing to bet. J-Bo says 30 mile winds and they fish the main lake all day because you're crazy, kid. You're crazy. All right, here we go.
Your call has been forwarded.
That's not good. It's not good. It went straight to voicemail. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We may have the number wrong. Y'all bear with me just a second. Let me double check the number in the other phone. Okay, are we back live? Somebody let me know. Man, I tell you what, one of these days I'll quit being such a low rent, low budget. I love how Luke Duncan calls his low budget live. We must be no budget. He's low budget live, we no budget dead, as Gerald Swindle called it one time. All right, we're back live. All right, this time I'm going to call KJ for real, and we're going to get him on the phone.
Hello.
Okay, Mr. Kelly Jordon, I think we got it going the right direction this time, sir.
All right, cool.
That's what you get when you ask a fishing guy to do some technical stuff. It pretty much goes like this.
Yeah, you're doing a lot better than I would be doing. Just saying.
Speaking of how you've been doing, I guess the first thing to get into, and we might have a few viewer questions, and I'll relay those to you as they come in. But first thing I want to get into with you is, man, what in the world's been going on? It feels like forever since we've seen you anywhere with everything that's going on this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's off season. You know, the last event I think I had was in August in Sturgeon Bay. I think that was the last one I fished. FLW Super Tournament, smallmouth. Got to run my bass cat across giant waves on Lake Erie for 3 days in a row. That was a lot of fun.
Did you take the Advil bottle out during that event at all?
Oh gosh, it's such a beating. I was making a long run too, and it's just sometimes that's what you got to do. And you know, boats are great now. The Bass Cat is a tough boat, man. It comes through, and the only thing that I did to my boat was on my troll motor, the support bracket that comes down the pole, that the bounce buster. It got bent sideways, but that's the only damage that happened.
Golly. So, that's wild, man. That's a pretty tough piece of material for it to get bent like that. That's an impact.
It's crazy. I said, man, I bent that. I was like, oh my gosh, and I'm pretty sure I'm about a half inch shorter right now. I got some compressed disc in my back, but hey, it's all good. Catching smallmouth is different, but it's cool. I like them. They're all right, but I like largemouth a lot better. But been doing that, and then heck, off season you get all the stuff ready for next year, and we're ramping into that right now. Everything, because of this COVID situation, a lot of stuff, is up in the air. There's been a lot of changes. I guess we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But, everybody's just trying to be able to make the just being liquid and doing what you can. I'm trying to make stuff work because I guess that's like the new normal or something. It's really strange, but we're just doing what we can and getting stuff done and trying to make lemonade out of lemons and looking forward to a great 2021.
Absolutely.
Ready to get 2020 behind us.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that, we are going to talk about the Redcrest in Palestine, and you've got some geographical maybe advantage. We'll discuss that, but the MLF, Bass Pro Tour, the whole MLF is a deal. There was so much, as everybody had to do, so much adapting in overcoming last year. But I think the most important thing, okay, is that you guys as organization survived. Because it was a brand new business, and for a brand new business, a fairly new business, just a couple years old, and for a new business venture, especially one of that scale, to have this thrown its way, man, that's just holy cow! What a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean it's tough on everybody. It's tough on the whole industry, and we talk about it a lot, but all these, and it's happened across, I think, all sports pretty much. Is most about every sport is run on marketing dollars. And when all this stuff kind of hit, in March this year, that's the first thing that everybody held on to. And as we know, the fishing industry is just, they can't make enough of everything right now. So
yeah,
it's recovering well, but at the same time, it's a crunch time. So yeah, I mean, everybody's weathering the storm. It's, everybody's, toughening up. And, I've talked to several companies that use it as an opportunity to, tighten their belt a little bit throughout our industry. And I think our industry as a whole is going to come out the backside of this in great shape. And but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just a lot of challenges. I think every organization that involved in fishing has had, I think everybody, not just fishing. I don't want to make light of everyone else.
Right. Yeah.
All kind of businesses across the board struggling here and there. I really feel bad for a lot of the, non-essential businesses like, some restaurants and what have you that had to close or have, whatever. Because if you own one of those, that'd be really tough as well. But yeah, it is. We're looking forward to a bright future, and we're keeping it rolling, and we are happy to be here, just like everybody else. We're looking forward to 2021.
Yeah, I think, and I know we live pretty close geographically, and I think you probably have a better perspective on this than I do because I don't travel near as much as you do, and I didn't travel at all this year, to speak of, and certainly didn't get outside the state of Texas. And if you live in rural Texas and you live in East Texas, and it's a bunch of good old folks that take care of their own and mind their own business, and it's different here. You don't get the real perspective of what's really going on because, a lot of our restaurants shut down or changed their capacities for a while. But for the most part, it's been pretty business as usual in the really rural areas, like the areas around Lake Fork and Lake Palestine. Not too terribly much has changed, especially when you compare it to other bigger city areas, or even especially outside of the state of Texas. Texas is always going to lean that way, and Texas has definitely been, I think, less restricted than a lot of areas.
Yeah, and that's why, there was a lot of tournaments that were canceled or moved or postponed. We saw tournaments all the way into November, and every organization, backed them way up and just tried to, the main thing was just trying to be able to have the events in the first place. That was the big challenge. And a lot of that is because, local chambers of commerce, hotels, industries like that, they were probably the most affected. Tourism. Yes. Because, as you know, the no travel guidelines and stuff, nobody wanted to get afoul of that. And that's why a lot of them were canceled and or postponed. So, it was a lot of challenges, and you're right. It's not just, the more populated areas, the more metropolitan areas that, you really see some of the more, lockdown stuff and more, it's just because there's more people. But even in the rural, I guess, areas that have lakes, they have the tourism board, and they have, it's about a lot of stuff like that. So they were extra sensitive to that, I guess you could say. I guess that's a good word, sensitive to it, because, it's kind of their butt on the line if something bad happened too. So right, everybody got pretty gun shy, I think, and rightfully so, I guess. And everybody's just trying to, just get by. And I think that's, what everybody has tried to do for the most part. And it's this. It seems like it's starting to ramp up again. The infection rate, as we all know, but I'm hoping that it doesn't get much worse than it is now, just kind of stabilizes and stays where it is right now, or drops back off. They kind of, from what I know, they've kind of expected it to get a little worse this fall, just like it, colds and the flu do, just because it's just the weather. I guess people are just more susceptible, maybe because of weather change and what have you, to get sick. But we're hoping everybody's safe, and anybody is having a hard time with it. As a good friend of ours, Mark Pack, is on Lake Fork.
Yes.
We're praying for them, and it's a tough gig. Some people, it doesn't do anything to them, and some people, it's taken a lot of lives too. So we're not making light of anything like that. And I think the industry as a whole, tourism boards, venues, it doesn't matter what they are. They're just trying to do the best they can, follow the protocols as good as they can, and at the same time continue with life, because you can't live in your basement for the rest of your life. That's a lot of people have different opinions on how you should proceed, but as a general rule, everyone tries to follow the CDC guidelines and do as much as they can, and because it's all about not affecting a person that could be, a normal healthy person could get sick and really ill and possibly even pass away as well. But, it's just, trying to do your due diligence to, not cause harm or the illness to pass anyone else to the best of your ability. And you take all the precautions you can, then go forward and have your events. And thank goodness we live in America where we can still do that. So
That's right. We can't live in fear forever. At some point, we've got to figure out how to move on with this and live life and function as a society. And I think we're all doing that the best we can as we go along right now. Basically, is what we're doing. So
it is, and everybody is doing their best to do their part and
yes.
Keeping the spread down at the same time. Hey man, you gotta live your life and stuff like that. So it's a balancing act, and that's why you've seen so many cancellations and postponements, because everybody's been trying to get a handle on it. But I think 2021 looks bright. Looks like we're going to be ramping right back into this. The bright side of this whole COVID pandemic, shutdowns and what have you is the last I heard was there's somewhere in the range of 10 million new registered anglers in the United States of America.
Yeah, that's been the crazy part, because, maybe on the professional and the big-time tournament side, and even on the smaller tournament side, we had to, postpone and things got rearranged and all that. But fishing as an industry isn't really suffering, because there's more people fishing now than there's ever been. I know Texas, talking to the guys down there in Athens, Texas had record numbers of fishing license sales, and they said that echoes across most of the states in the country. They all had record numbers of fishing license sales. So we literally have more people fishing. And one other really cool thing, cool on a personal level, right? On a personal level, this is cool. The Redcrest got moved to Lake Palestine. Now,
yes, it did.
Inform the folks of exactly how far away from Lake Palestine you live, sir.
Approximately 500 yards.
Exactly. Well, I've got to ask the question. Now, I got to ask a little bit of a controversial question at some point in this deal. How much influence did you have on it coming to Palestine?
None.
Really?
Now, let me just set this straight. So this is our Redcrest. This is our championship. I hate to ruin it for everybody because I ruined it for myself. I didn't qualify for
Oh, no.
The top 40 guys going. I just barely missed it. And you could say I would love to be competing in it in my backyard. But I'm not. I'll be here, and I'll be doing support, whatever I can, helping the crews, probably, be running some camera guys around and taking people to dinner and doing what we can, and, that kind of stuff. But, I don't get to fish. So, that's a big bummer.
Yeah, I feel like a complete jackwagon that I didn't verify that before this phone call.
No, but it's good. But yes, I did have a lot of hand in the preparation of this venue. Had a lot of conversations about what Lake Palestine is all about, the kind of fishery that it is, as you would know very well.
Yes.
We came down last week actually and surveyed the lake to make sure it was usable. There weren't any dead spots, because that's what we do to every place we fish. We do surveys, so we know we can live stream.
Right.
And if there's some dead areas, those are actually off limits. So, I did do a lot of work in that. I can't tell you I pulled for it, but I said, hey, this would be a fantastic venue. And how this all transpired was this. So the Redcrest this year, which is the Major League Fishing Championship, was going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the end of February. Well, because of COVID and what have you, and the venue there, it was going to be a great big event, hunting, fishing, what have you, the whole likes of all that. Because our TV property there is based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They have a lot of contacts there. Also, the group of the OSG, the Outdoor Sportsman Group, that has like the Outdoor Channel, all the rest of those, WFN, Pursuit. They're all going to be there. I think there was going to be a lot of hunting stuff represented there, as well as just going to be an outdoor sports expo. It was going to be fantastic, and because of COVID and the uncertainty going forward, the venue, suggested, and they the board of Major League Fishing just got together and said, "Hey, this is a good time. We think it's going to be really hard to have the event and have it right, because who knows what'll come down the pipe. So we're just going to go ahead and postpone that till 2022." And they did that, and they got out ahead of that because that's good for sponsors. Who are, they got to plan and get people there, and if at the last second you pull the plug, it could be really bad for sponsors. And it is what it is, but that's why they get out ahead of that. That being said, they didn't want to go to Tulsa and go to Grand Lake, Oklahoma 2 years in a row, so they started looking around. And of course, we have lots of great venues in Texas, and that's one of the beauties of Major League Fishing is the way our style is. We kind of have really been looking forward to, and we will continue this, and hopefully in the future do even more, is go fishing in places where there's never been any professional event.
Right. And
showcase some different bodies of water. So it's not, I'm not saying you get tired of seeing the same old lakes, because, man, there are some awesome lakes in this country. But it is kind of cool to mix it up, and then you got lakes like Lake Palestine, when there's no telling what they're going to catch.
No, and y'all are hitting it, and you know this from living down here. It fishes so tremendously well early in the year when y'all are coming. It's known to start getting good in the end of January and be really good in February at times. And it's going to be an interesting tournament on from a lot of different aspects. And you're right. I mean, think about another one. Lake of the Pines is somewhere y'all could hit potentially that's never had anything bigger than an open there. Palestine's the same way. So many of them, but Palestine to me is going to be real interesting because of how well it fishes early in the year. And it's also, we're taking bets right now. And this is another little goofy question. We're taking side bets over under on lower units that are damaged during this event.
Well, the guys are pretty good, and they've gone to a lot of hairy places. I mean, if you've ever been to Santee Cooper, that is just a minefield there with no boat lanes either. Most likely we will have full pool, if not a foot or two high.
Yep.
At the end of February, maybe even 6 feet. You never know, not for very long, 6 feet high, but probably will be. I mean, is there a very high percentage chance it'll be at least a foot to maybe 2 feet to maybe even 3 feet high. Yes. At that level, most of the stumps are underwater to where it's pretty fishable, and you're probably only going to really hit them when you're taking off or when you're shutting down, even if you did a crazy dive and ran across the middle of the upper end, which I would probably just die thinking about it, going across there.
Well,
go ahead.
Half of the bad thing is, like, if you know what's there, it's a lot worse to run it than if some of these guys don't know, and they'll just go and they'll be fine. And then guys like me and you that have fished it enough, and we know what's there, it's a lot more intimidating.
Well, they know, and like I said, we go to a lot of places like this, so they do their, very few boats have been torn up when we've been at Lake Fork for events up there. We had one this last spring there, or the spring of this year. You got Tom Main's boat lane chip, so they'll know that, hey, there are boat lanes, so you better watch that. And that's a pretty good chip that shows where a lot of the snags are that are pretty close to the boat lane. We're talking like 10 or 15 feet, which is not even a boat length.
Yeah, Tom Main did a great job on that chip, and he's been there for, God, forever now.
Yeah. Yep. So they're going to have that, and, it doesn't matter where we go, somebody still tears one up because,
right.
They get in a hurry or something like that. But, I don't think there'll be. I would be surprised if there's more than 3 or 4.
Okay. Well, we talked about this a little bit with Jacob Wheeler after the Fork event when you guys were down here on this podcast, and he really explained it in a way that makes a lot of sense. I mean, for you guys at that level, it becomes at times a calculated risk, especially in y'all's format with the time format where you've always got the clock running out on you,
Right.
and it becomes a deal where you're like, okay, I'm taking a chance, but if I pull this off and I get here, I might qualify or might move on or whatever have you. So it really does become a thing where you do sometimes have to take a calculated risk.
I would kind of agree with that a little bit, but it just, depends. I'm not going to go running across
Right.
the Black Forest on Sam Rayburn.
So
No matter what, unless it's 10 feet high, then I might.
yeah. So Jacob Wheeler told me when they were at Fork that he ran the power lines in Birch, and he went straight up like 3/4 of a way to the next power lines in Birch, and he just ran down the middle. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. You're insane.
A long time ago, I could run to the second power line in Birch, but it was when you could still see
You
on
can see
timber.
them. You said on Jeep Trail and all that, yeah.
Yeah, now there's no way. I wouldn't even think about it. But yeah, hey, water's high enough. Yeah, more power to you. But it just depends on what you're ready to, on your risk level.
Right.
He's right. I've cut corners before. I've jumped some beaver dams. I was on Lake Eufaula, Alabama, and the water had come up 1.5 feet, and I had seen a pond behind a rock levee. And I'd already got out and looked, and it was 1.5 feet higher. And I said, I bet I can make that, and I did. I got in there. I hit the bottom. My skeg,
Golly.
didn't mess up my prop. Didn't do anything. And yes, that was a calculated risk. But I was trying to get my line to go in, and here came Skeet Reese, and he went in front of me, and he didn't die, so I figured I could do it. So then we both got in there, and neither one of us caught a dadgum thing worth fishing for. This is a dry hole. How about that? We had to run back. It was terrible. I thought we were going to hit some other load in there, but we did not. But
that makes it even better. That makes it even better. That's so great. And I love the mentality of, listen, if it didn't kill that Californian, it's not going to kill this Texan. That's even better,
well,
too.
I was certainly glad he went first. Let me tell you that. I watched him.
That's
He
great.
made it. I can make it for sure. But, there is calculated risk. But, hey, man, boats aren't free. If you're a pro, you tear your stuff up, it's going to cost you.
Right.
There's people out there that think that, hey, man, they'll take care of that. It's like, NASCAR, they wreck the cars. It's not like that.
No.
It is just the cost of doing business, and that's why, you got to take care of your stuff. Because the other thing too is to compete on the the top level in pros. When we've done this a long time, you actually got to push your stuff to the limit, but at the same time, you can't kill it, because the old saying is, if your stuff doesn't work when you get to where you're going, it doesn't matter if you got there anyway.
That's true.
If you get there and your troll motor doesn't work, it's beat up until your battery's having imploded from getting beat up and your boat is sinking, then you do you any good. So, and your graphs are beat off your boat or whatever. So, and all your rods are broken in your rod locker. It is. And like I said, we do that for a living, and we're in our boats all the time, and I've seen a lot of different bodies of water, and I guess maybe we, push the limits of our performance of our equipment a little bit, more than most people. But there's plenty of locals around here that push them just as harder than I do. So
True.
It just depends, I guess, on your mindset.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that maybe gets misunderstood is people see y'all do things that they, as a casual weekend angler, perceive to be crazy. But when you're in the boat every day, you kind of understand a little bit more about what you can and can't get away with in your equipment. You become so familiar with it. Even myself doing what I do, I'll become like personally attached to the boat, and I'm sitting here right in front of my boat right now, and I'm telling you, I'm like, that's a family member right there. Like, I know everything it'll do, I know everything it won't do. And you're right. So I think some people perceive that as being risky when sometimes we kind of got a pretty good handle of what we're doing. But let's go back to the tournament a little bit on the Redcrest on Palestine. So I think everybody in East Texas is excited. First tournament anywhere close to this size that has been there. And it's going to be, like you said, alluded to earlier, it could be extremely good fishing. What do you think is going to happen in this tournament? How do you see it playing out? What type of fishing? What type of weights? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I mean, there's a lot that, and this is the beautiful thing about Lake Palestine is you could, I think it's not a limit. You think about Lake Palestine, first thing everybody thinks of is Kickapoo Creek or Nature's River or Flat Creek or Old Folks Playground or Cades Lake or what have you. The way that the lake sets up, it could be kind of clear in the upper ends, and it could probably be really muddy up there as well.
Yeah.
It just depends on the rain. It depends on everything. It's a pretty dynamic lake. It changes a lot. It'll probably change during the tournament, which is a pretty good, it's a pretty good test for the anglers to in a championship event. I think it's perfect. But, then you got your argument. Is it going to be one on the upper end where everybody always wins the springtime tournaments? Is somebody going to be able to do really good mid-lake? Can somebody fish, the clear water and there's a little bit deeper water down by the dam?
Yeah.
It'll be cooler down there, probably, and probably warmer on the upper end. They'll be a lot closer to actually being on the beds. Who knows? They might even be on the beds when they're here. Yeah. That's a long shot, but it's a possibility. So it's not, what I'm trying to say is it's not limiting. So these guys are going to be able to fish their strengths, and they're going to be able to get a game plan. And here's the X factor that is the best on lakes like this that we've never had an event on before. You what does well in the local tournaments, and the big bags come out of there a lot. Usually you got to have pretty close, if not more than 30 pounds to win a tournament in February on Lake Palestine for 5 fish.
Yep.
We're not fishing for 5 fish.
That's right.
So who knows? You got to think about the number of bites you can get. And then they got to be 2-pounders. So it's not little fish. I mean, you got to,
right.
I mean, so if you caught 22 pounders on the bottom end, that's about 10 bites on the top end, in a day's time.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and if you get 20 bites on the top end, you're going to be really tough. If you don't, then you're not going to. So, I mean, I don't know the game. I have no clue which way it's going to go, what the the dynamic, how it's going to change, what might take to win, and then you got to advance through the rounds anyway to get to the final to win anyway. It's going to be crazy, and somebody could get on a deal and have an astronomical weight on Palestine as well. I mean, there's no.
They could. It's you catch the right drain up there on the north end where you got them grouped up and they're biting in February. It could get. I mean, there is some really big fish, like you said, 30-something pounds. In fact, I live here in Van, Texas, and our high school team fished a high school tournament there last February, and they won it with 36 pounds. I mean, it's and that's a high school team. I mean, it's not an uncommon thing to have 5 fish weigh 36 pounds, and you get guys like y'all out there, and y'all catch 10 to 15 fish out of that group. What's that weight going to be? 100 plus? Who knows what it could be? And that's just catching 10 or 15. Lord knows if you catch 20 or 25, what it'll be. And one thing I want to touch on what you mentioned earlier, if you catch 20 fish on the south end, talking about 22 pounders, 2-pound average. Well, I think one of the misconceptions about Palestine is that you have to fish up north to catch bigger fish.
I agree.
I think,
and that's the other thing too. It doesn't. They're not all 2-pounders in the bottom end.
That's
there
right.
are some big bags come down there. It's just timing.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could theoretically pull up on one of those deeper, rockier points down there by the dam and get a group fired up with a jerkbait or something, and man, they might catch a few of them over 5 or 6 pounds mixed in with 22 to 3-pounders.
And they could catch a 13-pounder down there as well.
They could. They absolutely could.
I'm not saying you can't catch this because I do know there's plenty of great big ones on the bottom end. Yeah. And these are the best guys in the world, and they're going to be doing it. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a few of them that absolutely get on them like nobody's business, at least for one day. And it's going to be special to see. And, I mean, I'm not going to guarantee there's going to be some 10-pluses weighed in, but I bet you a steak dinner at a really good restaurant, there'll be at least one over 10, if not a bunch of them.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think that time of year, I don't think there's any way that group fishes it for that many days and somebody doesn't catch a 10-pounder. I really don't.
And it is that kind of lake right there, and there's so many big ones in there. And if it's a good spring and everything sets up right, that probably will happen. If we get an Arctic cold front for 6 days in a row, it might be really tough. But they're still going to catch some great fish, and it's going to be exciting. And the coolest thing is what I was saying earlier. Nobody knows what it's going to take, so it's a fresh slate. Nobody knows. It's wide open. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I have no idea how it's going to go down.
Right.
I know the possibilities, but I'm not going to be able to tell you. And I think if anybody tells you they know for sure how it's going to go down, they're probably wrong, unless they're real lucky, and they might be right. But and that's the coolest thing. I can't wait to see how this goes down. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be some huge fish caught. Catching 100 pounds is not out of the question in one day.
Right.
Who knows what they'll catch, but that's a pretty tall order, 100 pounds in one day. But
it is.
It's possible in Lake Palestine.
It is really about as wide open of an event as far as which way it's going to fall. I think one thing that you alluded to earlier about, and I think this is the biggest deal, especially for a tournament like the Redcrest, y'all's championship tournament. It is such a great lake because it does offer the variety of fishing opportunities as far as the guys that want to go fish a river system can literally go fish a river system. And the guys that want to
backwaters.
Yeah. And the guys that want to fish
grass, flip bushes,
mid-depth docks, mid-depth docks, deep points, rock, it's all there. It's all
seawalls.
Yeah.
Bridges.
It's all there, man. It's crazy
grass.
How diverse that fishery is. And then the other part, it could be 100, like somebody could break 100 pounds and down that lake easily. It could happen. It could also be a deal where 30 or 40 pounds leads the pack, depending on what you said with the weather. I think one of the biggest factors will be how much rain do we get leading up to it and the level of the lake. If it floods, that could present that's a lot of flooded shallow cover to figure out in a few days.
Yep, it is, and it'll these guys know what to do. I mean, they'll figure it out. It's in I would think that would scatter them out some, but you never know. They might all pull up on one tree somewhere, and somebody catch one every flip with a jig. Like I said, and the possibilities are endless on the baits and presentations. It could be one on a jig, it could be one on a spinnerbait, it could be one on maybe even a lipless crankbait, shallow square bill. It could be one a Carolina rig, a jerkbait, a chatterbait, soft plastic jerkbait, a buzzbait.
Hold on, I think you forgot one.
There'll be fish caught a buzzbait in there.
Yeah.
There's plenty more. So lizard, Texas rig, all kinds of everything. I don't think Ned rigs are going to be strong, but what do I know? So I'm hopeful of that. But
I hope the Ned rigs don't play. The Ned rigs don't play.
If somebody has one on, I'll just get their head and slap them with it. But I'm kidding. That's just not my style. But it's going to be straight up, big line, on the bottom end, yes. They might downsize somewhat. But then, it's got so much cover, and if they do hook a big fish, they're asking for it. It's just, like I said, it's going to be an awesome event, and I can't wait to see the fireworks that go off of this thing. I really can.
It'll be great, man. It will be great. Well, man, I do appreciate greatly you taking the time to break down the Palestine event. If you don't mind, would you mind looking over y'all's schedule with us real quick?
Yeah, you got it there?
Yeah, I've got it pulled up on the phone here. So we've got March 21st through March 26th. We're going to Big Sam Rayburn. And that's going to be a great event. I know you've probably spent plenty of time on Rayburn growing up around here.
Well, I always called Rayburn my second home lake.
Yeah.
And it used to fish just like Lake Fork used to when Lake Fork had grass. And I've had a lot of, I think in pro tournaments, I think in the spring, especially February, we used to always go in February. That's when you throw lipless, red crank, red traps over grass, what have you. I think I got a top 10, and at least a top 10 in like every single one I fished, or pretty close to that. But I never won one. The closest I came to winning was I got second one time in an invitational years ago, and Takahiro Omori actually won that tournament. and I came in second. But I do love that lake, and I certainly hope that I can catch them again there. And it's changed a lot, but man, I can't wait to go there. It feels like home to me, and it's got great fish in it. And what a great lake to start on. Love it.
Yeah, it's going to be an unbelievable time to be a bass fishing fan from Texas, and especially East Texas this year, because we got you guys on Palestine to kick it off in February. And listen, we're not going over all the opens and all that, but on the big, I mean, it's y'all and BASS. That's the clear top two tournaments out there on the Elite Series. But we've got you guys at Palestine in February. Then we've got you guys in late March at Rayburn. At the same time, we've got the Bassmaster Classic on Ray Roberts, and then the Bassmasters are coming to Fort. So
they're going to Fort, right?
If you're an East Texas guy and you're a fan of bass fishing, this is your year, man. This is like, we've never had this much traffic of this level of tournament fishing in this area.
Well, I think it's great, and I'm a Texas homer, especially an East Texas homer.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey guys, y'all think y'all got some great bass fishing? Well, welcome to our backyard. We're fixing to see some fireworks.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, looking forward to that. It's going to be a great year for that, especially. Can't wait.
All those tournaments are going to kick out some. I mean, you literally could theoretically have 4 top-level events where we see double-digit fish get caught in all 4. Like, that's wild, but that could happen.
I would think that's more likely than not. I mean, to be honest with you. I mean, you never know, but it's got a great chance for that to happen.
It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited, if you can't tell. All right, so then we're going to go to early April. April 9th through 14th, we're going back to Raleigh, North Carolina, that chain of lakes. Now, are y'all fishing it on one lake, or y'all doing like the variety of lakes like y'all have done in the past?
Yeah, so that's the heavy hitters.
That's heavy hitters, yes.
Like we had last year, yes. And so they'll move around a couple lakes, but that's a great event. And man, when we were there our first year, those lakes out there, it's like fishing in East Texas that doesn't have much grass, but the fish are huge. You know, that's where I had 82 pounds. I set the record briefly with, I don't remember how many bass I had, like 15 or 17 bass, I think, and I had 82 pounds. And the bad thing was I lost like 7 or 8 over 5 pounds that day. I had a shot at like 120 pounds.
Oh, no.
They were just so big. They were coming off. I was throwing a chatterbait, and I lost like I'm pretty sure 10 plus, a couple over 7, and long story short, that's got them out there. So that's going to be another big fish event. It's fantastic.
And you're going there in a prime time. I mean, I would think they're going to be starting to get on beds there by early to mid-April. That should be like, whew, let's go.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That'll be go time for big ones. So then we're gonna flip it around, come back to Texas at the end of the month, April 30th to May 5th. We're going to Austin, Texas, going to Lake Travis.
And that is going to be an awesome event as well.
Yes.
We had the Texas Fest there 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago maybe.
Yeah, it's been a little while back.
Yeah, 3 years ago, I believe. We caught them there really good. It was awesome. It's such a great lake. It's full of fish. It's kind of, most people don't really understand what a great fishery that is, but we're going back there at that time. And there still might be some spawning fish, but it'll be earlier than that event we had 3 years ago over there. It's going to be great. There's going to be some big fish caught as well. The topwater bite's going to be phenomenal.
Shad spawn topwater deal, maybe?
Yeah, it'll be shad spawn, topwater. They'll be cranking and jigging and flipping and all that stuff too. Swim baits, of course.
Yes.
Because it's clear water. So another big fish event. There'll be some big fish caught on that as well.
That could actually be, and it's not just super often that you see an opportunity for you guys in y'all's format to throw bigger swim baits, but that actually is an event on that particular lake where we could see some guys throwing some pretty sizable swim baits on that clear water fishery.
Well, I'm sure they will, and as you know, if you throw swim baits a lot, one thing they do, even if you don't catch fish on it, it brings them out and you can see that they're there.
Yep.
And then you know where they live, and you can come back and you can throw something else at them and catch them. So, it's great. Another great fishery. It's going to be great.
So then we're going to go, we have a few weeks off there, and we're going to go May 21st to 26th. We're going to Leesburg, Florida, and you're going to have to help me out on some of these towns because it just says the town's name on the schedule I'm looking on. What exact fishery is Leesburg?
That's the Harris chain.
Harris chain, okay.
Yeah, and if you look back the last couple of years, they finally let the hydrilla start coming back on that lake. And
Let's
I hope they don't
freaking
kill it before
go.
we get there.
Let's go.
And some guys, I mean, there were some huge bags caught in some college events down there. I mean, that's another. I mean,
it's a little bit of an interesting dynamic, though, going to the Florida fisheries at the end of May. That's pretty interesting because normally we see you guys going to Florida in February.
Right. We go there because it's warm and not get snowed in.
Right.
Going there, yeah, it's going to be, it's going to fish closer to a summertime event. It's not all the way summer, but they're going to be done. There might be a spawn or two, but they're going to be mostly done. And it always cracks me up on Lake Fork. Everybody's like, "Oh, the post spawn, that's a tough time of year." And I'm like, man, that is my absolute favorite time of the whole entire year to fish on Lake Fork because you catch the most and you catch the biggest of the whole year.
Well,
I've got more 10-pounders in Lake Fork in May than any other month by like 3 times.
I think I could echo that sentiment there, and for sure is like you can catch them any way you want to, like the most variety of ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, from the top from an inch of water to 35 feet of water.
That's right.
They're everywhere and they're all biting.
Now
so we're gonna hit that. Yeah. We're going to hit the Harris chain there, and it's got great big old fish in it. I mean, there are going to be some fireworks go off on that one, too.
So on that Harris chain, correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't that a little bit different than some of your other Florida fisheries where there's a little more depth to that fishery? It's not all just a big flat bowl?
Somewhat. It's pretty much a big flat bowl, but there's a lot more character to it. There's actually I think 5 or 6 fishable lakes that are connected by rivers.
Okay.
And little canals. So, I mean, you got Big Lake Harris, Little Lake Harris, Lake Eustis, Lake Griffin. There's Lake Apopka. I don't know if we can fish that or not. That's to the southeast of Big Lake Harris. You have I can't remember all of them now, but I mean, you talk about spreading everybody out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Plenty of water.
Current comes through when there's wind. It blows a little bit of current through those canals. There's pads, there's grass, there's docks, there's big springs that come in and make clear water and a hard bottom and some deeper holes. And you're right, there are some 20-foot holes in that place. Man. And those big springs that come out. It's quite the sleeper fishery, too. We've had a lot of tournaments there, but most people don't really think of it like they do of a Lake Okeechobee,
right,
or a Lake Toho, that kind of. So, but the Harris chain fishes better than Okeechobee and Toho right now for big fish. No question.
That's a big statement. That's awesome, man. So we're gonna leave that one, and we're gonna go June 4th. We're going to Dayton, Tennessee, June 4th to June 9th.
Chickamauga. So yeah, Chickamauga. Everybody, if you've been in the fishing world long, Chickamauga has had such a renaissance about the last 10 years or so. They stocked Florida bass in there.
Yes.
There was a long time that the state of Tennessee did not think the Florida bass would survive their winters. Well, apparently they have, because there was a while, they're still kicking out a lot of big fish, but 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, until about 3 years ago, and still. But when the Alabama rig got really hot, I mean, there was people catching 13s and 15s and 12s. Just ridiculous fishing. And it's a great, big, long Tennessee River lake. It's 2 or 3 lakes upstream from Lake Gunnersville on the Tennessee River. So it's going to be cooler than what you would think that time of year. Gunnersville is on about the same line as maybe like the Lake Texoma.
Right.
Chickamauga is, I think above that you have Nickajack, and then you have, there's one other, I can't remember all of them. But it's actually cooler. So you think about that as a summertime event, there will be some fish already out, but there's going to be it's going to be a post-spawn event, and there should be a shad spawn going on. So depends on the weather. If it's a really warm spring, it'll be more of a cranking event. If it's not, if it's a normal spring or even a cool spring, it'll be more of a shallow water event. And if you will remember the FLW Super Tournament we had this past June, it was later in June, and it was almost one up shallow on a sinker.
Wow.
Yeah. By
Yeah.
Jason Reynolds.
That's
Area. Jason, he was catching like 28 pounds a day or something ridiculous like that, 5 fish. So that's going to be a good event as well. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be wide open, like I said. In our format, it could be one shallow, it could be one deep. There's going to be a lot of fish caught. It's full of fish, too.
I was about to say, I'm seeing a common theme here on this schedule of really great time to be there when it's going to be a really diverse, wide open tournament, and it opens a lot of opportunities for everybody to kind of fish their strengths and really dial in on what they do best, which is going to create more for our viewing pleasure, so to speak.
I hope so, yeah. And I'm looking forward to it because they're going to be really, they're going to be so much fun to be fishing at those times, at those venues. Each one of them is going to be great.
So we got just a few more. Now we're going to head up north. We're going to Messina, New York, June 25th to June 30th. Tell me about that one.
That's the St. Lawrence River.
Mm-hmm.
That flows out of Lake Ontario, and then it flows in the St. Lawrence River. And that river actually flows from Lake Ontario is to the southwest of kind of where we're fishing out of in Messina. But the river actually runs to the northeast. It dumps out into the northern Atlantic up there, Nova Scotia somewhere. I don't have a map in front of me, but, it's the north shore of the St. Lawrence River is Canada. So that's on the border with Canada. I would say it's the best. I mean, in my opinion, it's the best smallmouth fishery in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, St. Clair is close, but it's not as big as the St. Lawrence River. The St. Lawrence River is so full of fish, and they're so big. There's so many 7-pounders.
That's crazy.
And even bigger than that. It's because it's just it's a dynamic fishery. The thing that it has too is long time ago, before the so in like the 90s, mid 90s or so, the zebra mussels showed up, and the Great Lakes and a lot of those rivers used to not be that clear. They were kind of, had a bunch of pollution from a long time ago. They had a lot more off-color water, great walleye fishing. You didn't really hear about the smallmouth much, and typically when we'd go to the St. Lawrence River, largemouth would win. They played really strong. A lot of people fished for smallmouth. They were easier to catch, but if you got on the largemouth, that won a lot of the events that we had up there. Not all of them. But I remember a tournament in like 1996 or something. Rick Lilligard won, and he caught all largemouth up there. And that has gone away since the zebra mussels came in. Zebra mussels cleared up the water and made it pretty much crystal clear. And that was advantage smallmouth, because a smallmouth is much more of a sight-feeding bass than a largemouth is.
Right.
They are almost exclusively a sight feeder, whereas a largemouth, does really good in muddy water. If the water gets muddy, I don't know of any good smallmouth fishery that's particularly muddy, but so that really was an advantage to the smallmouth. And then those gobies came in on a boat from a tanker ship from, I think, the Caspian Sea or something like that over in Europe, and everybody thought that was going to be the end of the world, just like they thought the zebra mussels were going to be the end of the world. Well, it turned in those were smallmouth bass popcorn. And so now you have...
It was like trout stockings.
Clear, filtered water by these zebra mussels that just turned it into beautiful, looks like the Mediterranean Ocean over the water, so clear you can see the bottom at 15 or 20 feet in some places. And then you have all these little gobies that look like crawfish on steroids, but with no claws and shells on them. They're soft. They're like giant tadpoles. And the smallmouth eat on them like popcorn. And it's turned that pretty much all those lakes up in the north into just smallmouth bass factories. So they have that, but that clear water also let more grass grow. And we know that largemouth bass like grass a whole lot. So largemouth never have competed with the size of the smallmouth up there.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting because in our format,
yes,
a largemouth might compete, and I'm not going to tell you, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm fishing for. and I'm so hard-headed. I did that for years and years. I just got my head kicked in. I'm thinking, hey, man, now with this, there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I mean, I might could get my flipping stick out and have a great day up there because you can. It's just there's not as many
Right.
fish over 5 pounds, which in a 5-fish limit you just can't compete with those smallmouths because there's so many 5-pounders up there. But I can catch a whole bunch of 3.5 and 4 pound largemouth, and occasional 5-pounder.
Yeah.
And it just depends if you think you can catch more of them.
Well, let's be real. You're a guy from East Texas. If there's grass, you're probably going. Yeah.
I can't wait. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, in either way, I'm sure it would be hard not to catch a mixed bag of smallmouth, even if you were largemouth fishing up there, because there'll be a lot. When we're going up there that time of year, there's still going to be a whole lot of smallmouth, this big giant smallmouth up spawning shallow too. So, I have never seen that up there. I've never seen those big smallmouth spawning, but they say it's ridiculous. So I guess we'll see. Can't wait. And that's going to be a new thing as well. There's never been a big tournament there that time of year that I know of.
Yeah. Yeah, they usually come later in the year, right, to that area. Yeah.
Right, like August. Yeah.
Yep. So speaking of that, we're going to Plattsburgh, New York, August 5th to August 10th.
Yeah, that's Lake Champlain.
Right.
And Lake Champlain, that's on the New York-Vermont border. It's an absolutely beautiful lake. They have their own Loch Ness monster up there.
Right.
I forget what its name is. It's like Nessie or something like that.
I think it's called Champ.
Champ. That's right. Champ. That's right. And they have T-shirts and stuff. I've never seen it, but they say there's one in there. But again, it's one of those just famous northern fisheries. It's a beautiful place. The only bad thing I really don't like about it runs straight north to south, and it's about 100 miles long.
Yeah.
And if it gets windy out there, man, look out. But we might get trailer. That's one thing that's cool. They might let us trailer. I don't know if they're going to or not. And it's a dynamic smallmouth fishery. It's also a dynamic largemouth fishery. It's one of the few northern venues we go to where you don't ever know which one's going to win. A lot of times it's a mixed bag, but if the largemouth are firing, it'll be one with largemouth. So it's great. And again, it's just, you can't predict how it's going to go down until you get there and see what happens. So it's a great place. And tell you what, if you ever take a vacation, that's definitely on the bucket list as well. St. Lawrence River, I would say, is number one. Champlain is probably number two, in my opinion. But it's a toss-up. They're both really close.
Yeah, speaking on the largemouth to smallmouth debate, so like on the St. Lawrence, the smallmouth are typically bigger, but on Champlain, sometimes them largemouths can weigh a little more than the smallmouth. Is that correct?
Yeah. There's not as many, great big smallmouth on Champlain like there is in the St. Lawrence River.
Right.
For whatever reason, I don't. It's just maybe because it doesn't have the current, and I don't know, but. There's some great big smallmouth, and there are a lot of 3 to 5 pounders. I haven't seen many that are 6 pounders. I'm sure there's some, but the largemouth on the especially some of the bigger grassier bays areas on that place there's quite a few 4 to 5 and even up to 6 pounders in there. So
yeah,
and you catch those up there. It's really awesome. Usually it's frogging, throwing a frog and flipping grass. So twist my arm.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So then we're going to wrap it up, man. Last event of the year, we're going all the way into September 10th to 15th. We're going to St. Clair.
Yes. St. Clair is, some people would argue that's the best smallmouth fishery in the country, and others would argue it's the St. Lawrence River.
Yeah.
My opinion, it's the St. Lawrence River. But St. Clair, on good years, it is astronaut. It's just unbelievable. And you do have Lake Erie right there. I say right there, it's a long run, but you can make it. You got the Detroit River flowing south out of St. Clair into the Lake Erie. And then you have the St. Clair River, which runs north out of Lake St. Clair and comes out of Lake Huron to the north.
Right.
And so it's all kind of, there's no telling where it will go down. But so St. Clair, though, is a shallow. It's almost like a Florida-style lake up on the Great Lakes. All the Great Lakes are rocky and deep and clear. And then you got St. Clair. It's like a puddle in between Lake Huron and Lake Erie. And the deepest spot in that whole lake is, 30 feet or so.
Right.
Except for there might be a deeper spot in the dugout because they dug out a channel for the big seagull and chips, the big super tankers come through. But It's basically a flat bottom, not much rock at all, and a lot of grass. So, I mean, it almost fishes sometimes a little bit like a largemouth fishery, but you're catching smallmouth. What I mean is you can go throw a chatterbait in the grass and catch smallmouth.
Right.
It's great.
That's wild.
And it has lots of 5 and 6 pounders too. So, you know, and that again though that is a smallmouth fishery. I don't think there's any way largemouth would ever compete up there. Doesn't matter what format you fish. So that will be a smallmouth for sure.
Gotcha.
St. Lawrence River could go either way. Mixed bag. Champlain. It could be one with smallmouth. It could be one with largemouth. It could be one with a mixed bag. But St. Clair, that is going to be a smallmouth event.
Yeah.
No question.
Man, it's an awesome schedule, man. You guys are hitting a lot of, I mean, you don't have Lake Fork on there this year, which I know hurts you just as much as it hurts me. But
we'll get back there. Hey, that's going to be on there pretty regular now because we can do that with our format. So
absolutely.
That's where we all started, was at Lake Fork.
That's true. It did. We talked about this. There. We talked about this back in February. The last time we had you on, I think it was February, and I'll go over that briefly again. So this whole whale 'em in the boat format that MLF has taken to all new heights and done all this great promotion with a totally different type of format. All this was really started and made possible by a tournament that you and a couple other guys you became friends with. Y'all spearheaded this back in the mid 2000s, 2006-ish, and it started with the Toyota Texas Bass Classic, which was a team event back then, and y'all really started this whole whale 'em in the boat deal.
Yeah, that whole event was started because, I met the right people, and I was always, Lake Fork was my lake, and I was like, we have got to figure out how to have a professional event here and showcase what Lake Fork has, because there's no place like this. So, going back and forth, we had meetings with the Parks and Wildlife Department, and Phil DeRocher was the head of that at that time, and so I'm good buddies with Phil because of that. Dave Terry was there as well. Dave Terry just retired, inland fisheries from the Parks and Wildlife Department. Made great friends over the years with that, and working with them, and it was the Professional Anglers Association at that time that formed the event, and the board of that was guys like same guys that we got now, like Kevin Van Dam and Gary Klein and whatever, and Gary Klein and Shaw Grigsby, myself and Phil DeRocher and Dave Carrier, who worked together to figure out how, to come up with the concept of how we could do a catch, weigh, release, because that was the only way we were going to be able to have that event. Parks and Wildlife was like, there's no way we're going to issue a permit to have an event. And we're like, well, we don't want any special treatment either. How can we figure out to do this? Can we, maybe if we bring them right in when we catch them, can we turn them loose right then? We talked about that. And I had just been peacock bass fishing in Brazil for the first time. That was an awesome trip. I got invited to go on, and we had the boga grips in the boat. And I said, well, hey, what if we get boga grips? Because those you can certify those, because they were weighing world records on those. So we talked about that for a little while, talked to the IGFA, figured it out, and said, hey, let's try it. And that's what we did, and that turned out fantastic.
It was amazing.
Groundbreaking. And pretty much all the same players there in Major League Fishing. That's pretty much the foundation was laid for have that kind of event. What Major League Fishing did was take that format and go to where there's not a 5-fish limit. You get a credit for all of them. So that's the only difference there, but it's the same players. And like I said, it's an incredible legacy for Lake Fork in East Texas, and that's in the Parks and Wildlife Department, because their hand in that is because they said that's the way you're going to have to do it if we'll ever have this event. And if you look back at it, the conservation, the forward-looking conservation of that to having, fishing events, the low impact and taking care of the resources as good as you can. That was first and foremost with that. And, it's catching on. It's great. It's not always easy to have that kind of event, but we're just really fortunate that we are able to have that kind of event where it's immediate catch, weigh, and release, and we love it. So we think that's the future too. And let me tell you what, it is the most exciting competition. I mean, it's because you can't ever. It doesn't.
There's no doubt, man.
It's not over till the bell rings. It's when it's done.
There's no doubt. There's been so many moments already of the buzzer beater format. It really takes tournament fishing and turns it into much more of a sport that anybody that's not even into fishing, like, you don't have to be into golf to know when the dude sinks the putt to win on the last hole, there's a lot of excitement going on.
Exactly.
And now fishing kind of has that, because before in fishing terms, like, you go out and you fish all day, and then you come in and the weigh-in's kind of exciting, but you kind of already know what's going to happen. If you're watching the TV show, you already know where they are. In almost every event. Very few events have been within an ounce or two to where it was drama at the weigh-in in the past. And so this just, it's over officially when it's over, because the official weights are happening in real time. And so the dramatic storytelling that takes place in that format is so much, to me, far superior for an entertainment value than anything we've seen in the industry, in the sport.
Well, it's really fun. It's exciting. There's all the different formats have their own component to it. I have, of course, fished every format that I can think of in bass fishing tournaments. And but yes, to me, it's a whole different. It's just a different ballgame.
Yeah.
I can't describe it. And the other thing that keeps it real too is not only is it a change in scoreboard for people who are watching, the fans are watching it, but the anglers also know where it stands. So you can be on cloud nine and you can feel like your belly's lower than a snake's belly too at the same time. Like, you don't even know how to walk and chew gum at the same time when you're getting beat so bad. And it's just amazing. I just sometimes shake my head and go, man, they are flat catching them. And then I've done it too. I've just caught the ever-loving heck out of them. And it's, like I said, it's there's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And since everybody knows what the score is, you can see it on their faces, and that's what even makes it. It's like I said, I hope everybody gets a chance to fish that format. We do have our, you can have those events on your phone, our Score Tracker Live, but it is. I'm very fortunate to fish those kind of events, and it's just I'm telling you, adrenaline 24/7, and when it's over, you are done.
Yeah,
you are out of gas, and I just can't. It's just, man, it's real.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, man, just not as a fishing guide or a dude who's looked up to you for a long time or anything else, but just as an overall fishing fan, I have 1,000% missed, and I know y'all fished the FLW Super Tournaments, and I know that this year didn't allow for everything to go down the way it was planned, and it's fully understandable. I don't fault y'all for that at all, but I have sorely missed the MLF Bass Pro Tour format style events going on live this year. We had the one down here at Fork, and it was awesome, and I was all wound up, and then we didn't have too many more before we had to put the delay on it and change everything up. But I am extremely excited that now here we are 2 months away from having a really big event on a fishery that I know really well, that I really enjoy fishing. That happens to be a perk for me personally, but I'm just excited as a fishing fan, and I'm sure all the people in the comments are saying some things like MLF will be on fire this year, can't wait, things like that. I can't wait. I can't wait to have that buzzer beater format back with all the big names in the industry and the best talent roster out there. It's going to be awesome, man.
Well, like I said, we're just fortunate to be able to do that, and I think it's going to be great to have these MLF events in our East Texas area because, I may catch them, I may not. On Sam Rayburn and
Travis.
Like Travis is where I'll be in competing, and I'll be here at Palestine. I just won't be competing. I'll be supporting, I guess.
Right.
Watching it online for sure. But man, how exciting! And I'm excited for East Texas because we know what kind of fish we have here, and I just love to showcase it to everybody else. And man, we got it right here in our backyard, and I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
We did have one question that I wanted to ask you from a viewer that pertained to the Palestine event. Have they announced where the takeoff's going to be?
The takeoff, no, they have not. But, I would assume it'd be the Villages.
Okay.
That's really the only kind of facility that, is like that. But, I mean, it could be somewhere else. I just don't know. The thing is, we do have a takeoff, blast off, but they have 30 minutes to ride around and get to where they're going before it's lines in. So, but yes, That will be forthcoming shortly when they get that firmed up. Because I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge of that at all. So,
Yeah.
I know as much as you. I would just assume it'd be the villages, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that was a gentleman that I know is from the area. He actually does a little bit of guiding down there in Palestine, so I'm sure he's wanting to know so he can come spectate at the launch and all that stuff if we're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Have to see how that works out, but yeah.
Right, and speaking of that, we are very fortunate with our format where we don't have the big crowd and the expo and what have you, that we are able to pull this event off. And that's, like I said, it's just an unintended consequence of how our format works. But you'll never have more than 3 people in one place at one time,
Right.
and and then it's all live streaming. So we're able to have our events and keep going through this deal and be safe at the same time. So we didn't plan it for that reason to be able to do it that way, but it's just kind of turned out that way. So we're really fortunate for that as well.
Absolutely. Well, Kelly, man, I know that you have been on here forever with me, and like I did the last time, I just can't thank you enough. And I know I told you this once before, but I'm gonna say it again, brother. You are one of my personal guys that I've looked up to for a long time, especially since I moved here in 2009 to Lake Fork. I've known your name since before that, but really when I got here, it hit home because it was like you were one of my hometown guys then, and it's meant a lot to me to watch you compete for as long as you have, as at high level as you have, and just you're an easy guy to look up to. You do everything the right way, and we all over here in East Texas, we really appreciate you, bud.
Well, this is home, and I appreciate that, really, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate being on your show, and have me back anytime, man. It's always a pleasure speaking to everybody, and look forward to seeing everybody. Hope you enjoy these events coming up as much as I'm going to, and hey, let's pull for East Texas to show out in all these events.
Let's go. Show up and show out. Kelly Jordon, thank you so much, sir. We'll see you next time.
You too. All right. Take care.
All right. Bye. Well, Kelly Jordon, listen, I meant exactly what I said there. He is one of the good guys. He is one of the best ones you'll come across. You just won't hardly find anybody that has anything bad to say about him. And I know how hard that is to do in this industry. It's almost impossible. Kelly Jordon is an awesome, awesome individual, and he's caught a ton of big fish and won a ton of big events. So if y'all got any questions directly for me, I'll still be happy to answer them. Didn't see a whole lot of questions popping up during the live stream, but are they worried about running the lake? No, they're not worried. And me and Kelly actually talked about that way earlier in the live stream towards the beginning of our interview. They're not worried about it, man. These guys go around to all the lakes, and Palestine is about as bad as any of them get for navigating. But Tom Maines put out a great boat lanes chip that I promise you every one of them guys will be running. And as well, they just have a ton of experience on knowing when they can and can't risk it. They're very, very experienced, and they are professionals. So they're not worried about running it. They're going to be conscious of it. They're going to be, cautious of it, but they're not worried about it. I did tell y'all in the beginning of this live stream that I had an announcement about, I guess somewhat of an announcement, not really an announcement, but just something that I'm going to be doing. I am actually going to be stepping back into the tournament fishing ring this year. Early this year, in January, actually. We're going to film it. We're going to document it all. I'm going to take you guys along for the journey. So I'm going to kind of keep it under my hat as to which tournament I'm fishing and where. But I am going to be doing a little bit of tournament fishing this year. I know for sure I've got one. It'll be the biggest tournament that I've fished since before I started guiding. Which was 2015 when I started guiding. So this will be the biggest tournament I've fished in quite some time. It's not a Bassmaster Open. I'll go ahead and save you the worry. It's not that. That's not what I'm doing. But it is a pretty significant size trail, and I'm going to go fish for sure at least one event. And I've got to double check my schedule because fortunately for me, I'm already my next available date for guide trips is May 31st. Now, I always schedule weekends off, so I have to see what I can make work around my schedule and who I can move around of my regulars if I need to fish these tournaments. So I may not be able to fish more than just the one, but I'm going to try to fish the entire trail if I can. I don't know if that's going to be able to happen. But you guys will see some big-time tournament fishing videos coming up on this channel starting as early as here in the next few weeks. Really, you'll get to see them. So I'm excited to bring that to you. I'm excited step back in a more serious competitive environment. I fished a couple little local jackpot tournaments. Of course, I fished the guides tournament when we were having the real version of that before that kind of quit happening. Um, and my problem is it doesn't matter what it is. I take it pretty serious. So I'm going to get out there and get after it in this tournament. And I guarantee you, if I lose, it ain't going to be because I ain't working hard and trying at it. I'm going to get after it. In fact, I've got to go. I'm leaving way before the sun gets up in the morning to go pre-fishing for several days for this tournament. So it goes off limits here in a little while, and I'm going to be out pre-fishing for it starting tomorrow morning after I leave my house at like, I don't know, 3 or 2 a.m. or whatever it is. Here in just a little while, basically. I see some guys asking about Mark Pack. Mark Pack is still in the hospital. He still needs your prayers. He has made a little bit of progress. He is doing a little bit better. He's asking for food, so that's good. He's making a couple funny comments, so that's good. That was better than it was. So he's trying to come back around. He's fighting his butt off like we knew he would. But he definitely is not out of the woods, and he does need our prayers still. So please keep Mark in your thoughts. What do I think the winning weight will be for the Bassmaster tournament in April? Can I give you a range? Let me give you a range. A 4-day tournament, Bassmasters in April. I'm going to go from 110 all the way up to 150. Is that fair? Like, they're going to catch them. I don't think it's going to be less than 115, 120, really. But I'm saying 110 to be conservative. I really think it's going to be about 120 to 140-ish. I'm really thinking it's going to challenge that all-time record number of a 4-day event of 130 pounds. I mean, they came here in May in 2014, and Keith Combs caught 110 pounds in 3 days on that event. It was a 3-day event. Well, you can see where that 140 number sounds insane. 150 sounds insane until you think about the fact that somebody caught 110 in 3 days. When the fish were post-spawn and didn't weigh quite as much as they will in April, on average. So, yeah, it could go, that event could go real crazy. I mean, it could be the 4-day record could fall. It could. I think the last time they fished in May in 2019, Brandon Cobb won with 115 pounds, and we literally, the lake got like flooded the night before the tournament started. The night before the tournament started. Like, I'm telling y'all, I know for a fact in my heart what I saw going down there the 4 days leading up to that event, that 130-pound weight would have got smoked if they would have fished that tournament the 4 days before they actually fished it in 2019 in May. So, yeah, I think there's, and we could get another flood the night before the tournament. We get that in the spring. We get hard rains, kind of flood the lake, make it all dirty, scatter them out, all that stuff, and that changes things up. But, yeah, into April, in a 5-fish format, it could go down. What are their dates in April? It's like April 22nd. It's April 22nd is when it starts. And you know why I remember that? Because the 13-year-old that caught the 12-pounder caught on April 22nd. That's a date that is seared into my memory. Somebody's asking if we did top 5 lures. I don't do top 5 lures on Sundays. I always do that at the end of the week on Thursday to get y'all ready for the weekend. On podcasts, we generally talk to people like we did tonight, Kelly Jordon or somebody like that, or just me and my buddy Chris, and we just sit here and talk about general fishing stuff, tournament talk, stuff like that. I see you guys asking questions, BFL, team trial. I'm not telling y'all. I told you I'm not telling y'all now. It's going to be top secret. You gotta watch the videos that are coming up over the next. It'll be about, what's it going to be about 3? I think the video will air 3 weeks from now. I think. Trey Hunt says the video is epic. The look on his face, yeah. The little boy Brody, little 13-year-old boy that caught that big giant 12-pounder, yeah, that was probably be the best guiding memory I'll ever have. I mean, to have a kid that young catch a fish that big is just, I mean, it was like literally ounces from the junior state record. So it's really, 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 really rare. Do you think on Palestine most fish will be caught north? I think anytime you start dealing with January, February weather, you got to see what the weather's doing the week or two before the tournament. I think it could be up north for sure, but if we get a bunch of rain and it blows that north end out, blows the back of Flat Creek out, blows the river out, all that kickapoo, then you're looking at a deal that could be one on docks or even down on the very far south end or something, on some rocky points. So hard to say this far out what that like we talked about earlier in the live stream. Me and Kelly were talking about, it's such a diverse fishery. It's going to be really, really hard to tell what that tournament specifically will be won on when it goes down without seeing the weather that leads immediately up to it. All things considered, stable weather, stable spring conditions, decent water temps, I think it'll be one on the north end. I do. I really do. MPFL. Y'all still guessing tournaments? I'm not going to tell you what tournament trail it is. All that you can know is that there's an event coming up in the next few weeks that I'm fishing, because I've got a video coming out here in a few weeks of that tournament. Like, we're going to fish. We're going to have some pre-fishing, and I'm going to go really in-depth on like my strategies for pre-fishing and all that stuff. Going to a lake I don't fish. Get you guys as much help as I can doing that like we always do. And then so we'll fish that tournament on a Saturday. It may be 4 weeks from now. I don't know. I have to go look at the schedule to see exactly what it is. We're going to fish that tournament on a Saturday. Then on that Monday, the pre-fishing videos will start rolling. By the time we get to the next week, you'll see a couple pre-fishing videos, a couple instructionals, and a tournament video all in like a week's time. So we're going to have a bunch of content around it coming out. Somebody saying champs, TTO. Whatever it is, good luck, man. I appreciate that. I'm going to need it, man. There's some really good fishermen that fish this event that I'm going to go fish. Have I decided on a live sonar yet? I have not officially. I'm leaning towards Lowrance because of some of the stuff that I've read on it about resolution qualities, higher resolution, better technology, all that stuff. And I've seen some really good looking video, but I'm not putting too much stock in the video I've seen because that can be tuned up to make it look great. And I'm sure they can do that with the Garmin too. I really, really want to see one in person before I make my final decision. So I'm trying to wait. None of the active targets are getting delivered till January. So as soon as they start getting delivered, I can find a boat to get in that has one on it, use it for a day or two, then I'll make my decision. But I'm for sure going to have a Humminbird 360. That's my plan right now, is to have a Lowrance 12-inch unit on my console. I'm going to have a Humminbird 360 up front with either an active target or a Garmin Live Scope. That's the last decision I got to make. I'm fishing with Luke Duncan. I thought you were giving hints. I'm not fishing with Luke Duncan. I would love to fish with Luke Duncan. That'd be great. No, I'm not fishing with Luke Duncan. Troy Summers, I appreciate that comment. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Hey, listen, man. We ran extra long. We brought you almost an hour and a half of podcasting greatness thanks to Kelly Jordon, man. Can't thank him enough. That was awesome. Even more than that, I can't thank you guys enough. You guys are awesome. I appreciate everything y'all do for me. All the stuff that I'm talking about going to do, and this is just what I do for a living, and it's because of y'all. It's really because of y'all, and I really, really appreciate you. Hopefully y'all got to see the seminar video that came out last night. We gave away thousands of dollars of tackle out of my own boat. I pulled it out of my own tackle stash and gave it away at our last seminar. So just a little bit of a way of me saying thank you to you guys, and I'll try to continue to keep doing that throughout 2021. This will be the last podcast of 2020. I didn't even think about that. We're done podcasting for 2020. It's about time this year got over. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, hey, we'll have a new video coming out Monday. It's going to be another Humminbird 360 video using it to fish grass. We'll have, of course, a throwback video on Tuesday. Then we'll have an instructional on Wednesday. We got a jerkbait, in-depth jerkbait video coming up on Wednesday. We'll be live on Thursday for top baits. See y'all back on Saturday for a seminar video. Sunday, we'll have another podcast right here. That's the schedule for the next week. Thank you guys so much for everything y'all done for me. We'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.